Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
For you non-wrestling fans, sorry, this is going to open up as a wrestling show. So, hey, for those of you who are wrestling fans and just finished watching AEW's Dynasty and feel the same way I do about that ending, that pay-per-view was one moment, one better decision away from being flawless. And they fucked it up. There were certain things that needed to happen with AEW Dynasty coming in. You know, Chris Jericho needed to drop that title. No offense to Chris Jericho. It's been a boring, horrible storyline. It has no traction. It's dragging down the Ring of Honor belt. That was one of the things. Everything else was predictable, was still good. Kenny Omega, all that. We'll get to that. But the Death Rider storyline needed to die tonight. It needed to be buried. Right now, we should be talking about the eulogy of that storyline and moving players on to different things. And we're not. We're not. And not only did it not end, it brought back elements from another storyline that I didn't care about with the executives, the EVPs. When that light went out, I'm like, I started praying of who do I don't want to see, and they were at the top of the list. Nothing against them either; they're a legend. But these storylines are, oh my goodness! I'm still the fog of this pay-per-view, which was a brilliant pay-per-view, by the way. Speedball Bailey, Ricochet, and Kenny Omega in the ring was everything that I dreamt it would be, and it was an excellent match. The Swerve Strickland Moxley match had, until everybody started running in. Was a good violent match. They were doing some crazy shit. And then the usual formulas. Here come the Death Riders. Here comes everybody. I'm waiting for the busboy to come out from a hotel. I'm waiting for everybody to come out. They all came out. Adam Page came out, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This might set something up. He gets wiped out. Then it's the Young Bucks. And I don't want to wait till Wednesday. I need to know why you fucked up that pay-per-view tonight, and to help me figure that out.
Hey,
this is Mondo. You guys know him. If you know we're talking wrestling, and I can get him on. Was on. I was hoping to be talking to him about what I considered at that point to be a perfect show.
dude, I'm with you, man. I didn't hate the ending as much as you did, I think, because it does leave me intrigued for Wednesday. However, you could have done a lot of the same things and still had Swerve win the title. Swerve should have won the title.
He had everything. Yes, he had to win. If he did the buckshot lariat on Moxie just to set up All In, because that's what I think is going to end up, should have been the setup. Everything that they did in this pay-per-view set something up better for something going on. The Okada thing, the only reason Okada has that belt is so that they can have a title per title at All In. That's it. That's the only reason he has the title. They set that up, albeit kind of shitty, but they walked out, everybody stared at each other. But I got it. Tony Storm wasn't losing to the Amazon. I got that one. Hurt Business wasn't. He was predictably good, and I'm like, okay. And like I said, I knew Omega wasn't going to lose because of the Omega Okada match they won for All In. I didn't need the tournament matches as part of a pay-per-view. That was when you could do that on TV. I was okay with it. It didn't kill the show.
Yeah, no, the tournament matches I think are actually a good idea for the main purpose that it gives weight to the tournament, because when you're actually having opening round matches on a pay-per-view, it means they're important. I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you until your opinion is wrong, because it's not. What do you is that just you just have a 1 gallon container of Kool-Aid there?
No, this is water, and I have vitamin B additive to it, orange flavored additive to it, so that I don't get dehydrated, because I get dehydrated during these shows.
Was it was it a 2 Frappuccino day? Is that why?
No, I actually didn't have the coffee today. I mean, I'm trying to take it easier and just hydrate myself without the caffeine. And so on Sundays at least, every other day it might be a 7-shot. Who knows?
Going back, the good stuff so here was the things that made this pay-per-view intriguing to me. My friend Paul, shout out to my buddy Paul if he's watching, called Swerve losing because of Cody losing at WrestleMania 39. After I said there's no way Swerve's losing when his family is in the audience. So this was actually, though, the ending was one of the most intriguing things that I've seen in a while, in a fact that I didn't know who was going to win them. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I figured Swerve was going to win the main event, but I didn't know how they get to All In from here, because I think, like you, I probably assume Ospreay is going to win the Owen Hart Cup. And I didn't want to see Ospreay and Swerve again this soon, because I figure then Ospreay's winning it All In, right? So I think in that regard, it makes sense that Moxley goes to All In as a champion.
Oh no,
you let Ospreay dethrone him.
No,
William, I'm with you. That I think the Death Riders have ran their course. Don't get me wrong. For anybody out there that's into New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Death Riders are very quickly turning into the House of Torture, which is literally what I fast forward through whenever I watch New Japan. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad. The idea for the angle when it first started, for the gimmick, I thought made sense. But the fact of the matter is, what they needed to do, and of all things, Dusty Rhodes was a booker that put himself over 10 times out of 10. I get it. But one thing that used to happen is when you had a heel at the very top of the card, the Horseman, you had every babyface on the underneath talking about how they wanted to take the Horseman out. And that's really what they should have done with the Death Rider gimmick, is have all the undercard guys talking about how they're going to take out the Death Riders, because they don't want this cloud resting atop of AEW. But I thought Swerve should have been the guy to do it tonight. How I would have done it personally is I would have had Death Riders come to do their thing, have Hangman come out, all out, and Swerve just lock eyes, and then Swerve wins the match. And that way you don't kind of know where Hangman's allegiances lie. Was he really trying to help Swerve out, or was he trying to take out the Death Riders? And then my other thought was, if you want to have the Young Bucks come out, then you have Eddie Kingston come back too, as one of John Moxley's friends, who turns on Moxley, obviously, because Moxley's the heel. Anyhow, aside from the main event, though, which wasn't
it wasn't a bad main event. That's just a bad decision.
But you can tell why it's not working when the crowd was kind of dead when Moxley was getting heat, because everyone's just and they're running into that House of Torture area where the match isn't going to end until you've seen a couple run-ins. Yeah, and that's not a good thing to be in. But I do think this definitely ends it All In with Ospreay. Although I'm with you, brother. Tonight was
we're gonna burn. We're gonna burn April. We're gonna burn May. We're gonna burn June to get to July 12th,
dude. I'm honestly not against Moxley losing the title on TV. Do the
Yeah.
rematch with Swerve, put it on the big Fighter Fest or the big Spring Breakout show, and have Swerve fucking beat him on TV. Sorry, can I curse? I forgot.
Yeah,
Is
go
that
ahead.
okay?
Go ahead. I
Okay.
opened up the cursing words. That's
But yeah, I think there's definitely options that are coming out of it. I do think also that when you're gonna do this in the main event, I know Tony Khan's idea is always to put the world title match in the main event. The one thing you can take from WWE is that if you know you're not going to send the fans home happy, don't put that in the main event spot.
yeah. I could have gone with the triple threat with Ricochet,
Or Tony Storm versus Megan Bay.
Yeah.
To be in all
that was
honesty,
a really good match.
yeah, they I think they over delivered. But I hate whenever this happens because you kind of put a black eye on what was an amazing.
Yeah, we were
pay-per-view.
texting back and forth. They're like, "This show is great," and I'm like,
Yeah.
And we were like, how's it going to end?" I'm like, "I know how it has to end." And then while I'm watching that, when the lights, I'm like, "Oh no!" When they opened up and then they were going to do the V trigger on them. I would have done it this way. I would have done. I would have had Adam. They could bring them all out there. I would have had you to screw up, and then them turn on him there, and then I would have had the Buckshot Lariat go on Moxley to set up that all in, because I really think that needs to be the main event for all in. It needs to be Adam. It needs to be Adam Page. Versus, I don't know how you get there, but that feud is one of the things that they've done where they've given you just the right amount of mileage and hatred about to where it's credible. I would buy it no matter what pay-per-view you put it on. So, go ahead.
I'm gonna wait till Wednesday before I completely get pissed or anything like that, because I think this past Wednesday Dynamite had one of the best interactions in pro wrestling that I've seen in a long time, where they had the face off with Swerve and Hangman, where he goes, "You burned my house down," and he goes, "I know." And
you deserved it. He's like, "I know," and now
I got goosebumps from that because I'm like, holy shit! Like they're taking this feud to a different level, and I actually loved in the main event. I loved Hangman, how they got the great shot of him looking at Swerve, looking at Moxley, looking at Swerve, so you never know who he was going to hit that buckshot on. That was great. But to your point, William, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what happens next.
I mean, I'll definitely be watching.
But I feel like this could have been the ending of a Dynamite, not of a pay-per-view. I think you could have had Swerve win and still advance these storylines. My thought process is that they don't want Swerve to they don't want Ospreay to lose again for the world title, and they don't want him to beat Swerve.
I'm not 100% sure Ospreay anymore is going to be in the main event.
Why?
I'm not, because I don't know. I don't know, because here's the way I think All In is going to be. I think All In should have been these two. Should have been Hangman, should have been Swerve, but I don't know what's going on. We'll find out Wednesday. I think the trios thing is going to be with Samoa Joe. I think that's going to be a rivalry. I love the way they set that up with those guys coming out there, because they needed to lose the trios belts tonight, but they did okay with the ops.
No, the ops are freaking over. Like, I love the ops, and
I didn't think that was going to work, and it has. So
yeah, no, when they first teamed up Hook and Samoa Joe, I'm thinking either this can go amazing or this can be terrible. Like, I mean, it was gonna happen, and it's turned out to be amazing. Samoa Joe's the best guy to team up with him. Shibata is freaking awesome, the wrestler. And no, they should. You're right. Those belts need to come off the Death Riders, because we're running into almost we're
running into NWO-ish territory. Not as big and bloated, but the way I felt when NWO was like, just okay, yeah, it's time to wrap this up.
There is a difference here, and the difference is they've never booked. They don't have 8,000 people in the Death Riders like NWO did. That's the thing. They've still kept this core group of people and made them very strong. So that's good. That's a good thing for the Death Riders, and that's a good thing for that angle. But again, I do think you need to get you can't have all these belts held up by this one group, because you can tell by the reaction in the main event that when the fans are going crazy when Swerve is coming back, but don't give a shit when Moxley has the heat, that means you have an issue and need to pivot a little bit. And to Moxley's credit, man, like, my fear is I don't want this to keep going and fans to just to turn on Moxley in a go away heat kind of way. Because, dude, Moxley has been the MVP of AEW. He's stepped up every time they've needed him, and he's been great. He's been a fantastic. He's actually great in his role. Just this is the one piece of the booking that I think needs to change. And a friend here, Anthony, says he blames Tony for this. There was no real plan when this angle first started. He thinks they just threw it together. Then he said, this is what happens when you allow your talent way too much creative freedom, when they don't really know how to book stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and refute the second point in being that Tony handles the book. Like it's been
this is Tony's shit.
Yeah, all the really I'd say credible pro wrestling journalists who have inside knowledge have all said that Tony is the decision maker. Does he get advice from wrestlers? For sure. And you'd be dumb not to, right? To not listen to your talent if they have good ideas. But this is the Death Riders was his idea, and it is his idea, and he's doing what he wants to do. So you can blame him for the booking, and you're 100% right to do that. But in no way is he letting the talent completely run the show. With that being said, William, if we go back to the pre-show,
let's go ahead and run this down.
We're gonna run this down. The pre-show, the first match was the Crew, Leo Rush and Action Andretti, and Nick Wayne versus Top Flight and AR Fox. Just a fun 6-man. Action all over the place. Really, it did its job as an opening match of I guess not
perfectly timed, by the way, perfectly timed. It didn't last too long.
No, didn't last too long. Was super exciting. So if you're sitting there and watching that match and thinking about like, should I order the pay-per-view? That's the kind of match that gets you excited. So I thought that was really good. I enjoyed it.
All right, so I thought that match was a good start to the show. It paced the show. I didn't have a problem with the result. 11 minutes and 15 seconds, pretty good. 0 hour. Then we had something that I thought was slightly amusing and entertaining. You had Anthony Bowens with Billy Gunn defeated Max Caster after he had the open challenge. I thought that was because there's two guys that I thought didn't need each other anymore, and I thought that they broke them up at the right time. And I think that both of those gentlemen are at a point where they can go ahead and flourish individually. So I kind of thought that was cool. I thought it was perfectly placed in 0 hour. All right.
Real fast. I'm going to be a little bit of a dissenting opinion on this. I don't think it was time yet for Anthony Bowens to come back. I think you can drag this out a little bit longer. Only because I'd like to see this happen on the pay-per-view or on Dynasty or not Dynasty or on Dynamite or something like that, or maybe even Collision, something like that. That's my only complaint though. Max Caster is great at being just this smarmy ass heel. And the way the crowd was chanting what he wanted to chant and he kept shitting on them saying their inflection wasn't right. I thought that was just brilliant. So good on Max Caster. And like you said, William, I think both these guys can definitely flourish as singles individuals. Anthony Bowens is a better wrestler for sure.
Oh, he's definitely.
And I think he can be really great if they want to push him. He's also very unique in the fact he's not only an LGBTQ athlete, he's also a person of color at this point, which put those two things together and you have someone that can really help like with representation in a positive way.
Yeah, and the way they've done it up to this point, representing that has been good. And now that they're in this storyline, so I kind of was entertained by that. Then we opened the show with Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight, which I've been watching Kevin Knight for quite a while. I love this match. I love the spots in this match, and nothing's drug for me. I think Kevin Knight, he's a tremendous talent, and I don't think he's as good as he can be. I think he has a tremendous upside where he's at right now with the crew of people. And obviously, I think Will Ospreay is the best physical wrestler in the world. So I really enjoyed this match, and it just continued the momentum from the buy-in.
Yeah, dude. With you, the beginning, they had a couple little rough spots that looked like they were just kind of trying to get on the same page. But they're both so freaking good that they covered him up. Like it made sense. It didn't take the match down at all. And yeah, like I know Kevin Knight from New Japan, and but I'm not. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I've seen enough of him to know he's a good wrestler, but tonight he really and his his efforts on Dynamite really sold me as him being what he really is. And like you said, William, tremendous upside on this guy, and I think it was kind of a steal they got him.
Yeah, I was surprised when I heard that because I thought he'd be heavily on the market. And now we're getting onto a match I did not care about coming into, but ended up being a lot more fun because the Hurt Syndicate versus the Learning Tree, a gimmick. I'm tired of the gimmick, but I'm not necessarily tired of these two gentlemen that were wrestling tonight. It was cool for a change since the Hurt Syndicate has been around to see them get physically tossed around because all their matches have been mostly squash. But this time it wasn't an option here. Bobby Lashley got tossed halfway across the ring several times.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, he just ragdolled, and that's something I think that the Hurt Syndicate needed because otherwise, it can get stale real quick. So I did not think for a chance that they were going to lose this match. I think that they're over enough where they're going to keep it, but it was still entertaining enough to watch them, show a different dimension that they've shown, especially Bob Lashley not being a tag team wrestler. So they won.
It wasn't a great match, but it did what it was supposed to do. And I don't think anyone in the world thought that Hurt Syndicate was going to lose this. Hurt Syndicate, they're and granted, like I hate coming off like an AEW show because I like pro wrestling in general. My problems with WWE are less about the product and more about I don't feel good watching the company. I've also stopped watching UFC because I don't think TKO, our morals do not align, and I don't want to support them.
That's the right of the consumer. That's for sure.
Yeah. Which again, I don't knock anybody that does watch them and enjoy them. That's fine. I'm not ever going to judge anybody for that. But for my own personal, I don't feel good watching it, and I like to feel good watching with the limited amount of time I have each week.
Yeah.
But Hurt Syndicate in AEW is everything they should have done with them in WWE. They've made them this monster group, which they're getting over. Let's be honest, they're baby faces, even though they're heels.
Because, people are cheering for them and they're singing their song. We hurt people. Yeah,
theme music's awesome. The crowd's into it. They finally are realizing they need to push them as baby faces because the worst part is when you have a heel group that's super over, no baby face can ever get over against them.
Yeah, it hurts the baby face to be in that.
Yeah. This is actually the same issue with Tony Storm when Tony Storm was a heel. Was that every feud she had with the babyface hurt the babyface because no one wanted to boo Tony.
Yeah.
So, and this is the same thing, but I do think they're building to something where you're going to see Big Bill, obviously, and Brian Keith break off from Jericho, and then that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, that needed to happen. Like I said, the learning tree needs to be chopped down. This next match was sort of a disappointment to me. There were some missed spots, and I'm used to better matches from Mercedes Moné. I thought this match kind of lumbered. I thought that both individuals had the ability to give me a fast, high impact sort of match because I've seen them both give that. I just thought there was a lot of lumbering around. And with Mercedes, this is the first time, and I hear this criticism for a lot, that for her size, she does moves that are too big for her, or a bigger wrestler, and it slows down the pace. This was the first time that I really felt that she was trying to do things in the ring, even with a smaller Julia Hart, that just really kind of jammed up the match. Then they messed up on the she slipped off the rope. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. This was, in my opinion, one of the sloppier matches of the night, and one of the ones that just disappointed me because I like both of these wrestlers, but this match was more of a, it was just kind of there. How do you feel about this one?
I think this is one of the longest matches they've had Julia Hart do, and I honestly think I'm going to dissent from you a little bit. I think it overachieved in that I thought they were going to go a lot shorter, and they didn't. But for all the miscues at the beginning, the way they had the crowd into it at the end when they were trading submissions and stuff like that, that's really the point of pro wrestling. Is by the end of it, I ignored the sloppiness at the beginning, and I was just into the finish. And they actually had me, buying a couple times that Julia Hart was going to win the match. So at the end of the day, I think it was good. To your point, William, if you could take one match off this pay-per-view, it'd probably be this one. Being that this would also be really effective on a Dynamite or something like that. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I do think Julia Hart raised her stock even in losing on this, and that's important. And dude, Julia Hart's like 22. For her to go out there and do this at this high of a level, good for her, man. She's gonna be a big star.
Now, the one thing about this match, though, I knew there was no way in hell Julia was going to win because they're setting up Athena, and that's their
definitely.
money. That's their money.
No, I'm with you on that, but and that's what I mean, though. If by the end of the match you can get me into it and involved to a point where I am actually thinking that this might happen,
maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll do it.
Yeah.
Next match was not a bad match. Death Riders versus FTR. I knew this match was a setup to their story, so I was okay with it. I was just wondering at what point was the heel turn coming between FTR, and I believed it was going to be both of them. I did not think they were going to split up FTR.
No,
if one went heel, I knew they were both going to get healed up. This is setting up, in my opinion, and I don't know how they're going to get to it, but this is setting up for Edge and Christian versus FTR.
Yes, I actually expected Christian to come in and not to do a save, but maybe at the very end when they're going to stretch him out, him to come out and just check on Edge or Adam Copeland. I refuse to call him Cope. I'm sorry.
I don't. I call him Edge. So that's going to be a good match. They can still work. Obviously, FTR can still work. That's an all-in match. So a lot of this pay-per-view did a lot of good in setting up for that. Like I said, maybe like you said, Wednesday when the main event kind of gets clear, maybe they got something for me. I hope they do. Otherwise, I'm gonna be mad. But I thought this match was good. I knew who was gonna win. I thought I knew who was gonna win this match. I didn't know whether they were gonna win the trios match and then turn heel after. But I wasn't 100% sure. But I thought the Death Riders were going to escape, even though I didn't want them to.
This match was built up really well, though. The way they did the dissension between FTR and Edge and FTR amongst themselves, like that match that Dax had with Yuta, very, very well done. The way they built this up to where, again, I don't think everybody expected this to happen, but you and I, William, have been watching wrestling since we were, over 30 years each, I think we saw that coming from a mile away, but it's okay. Again, if it's logical and makes sense, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, as long as being predictable is not bad all the time, as long as you execute. So we had Death Riders, and then we had Timeless Tony Storm versus Megan Bayne, who I don't know about anyone else. I think the world of this woman because I think for her size, it's really easy to become a particular type of wrestler, and she actually has the agility. I think she's not all there yet, but I think for her to be, to be in there, and obviously she's in there with somebody who can make her better with Tony Storm. Tony Storm sold her tonight really well. Even when you know what, the roll up, I thought that was hilarious. Because that's how you pin somebody like that you're trying to bring up without burying them. I thought that ending was appropriate, and I enjoyed that match. One of my favorite matches of the night.
Well, that's how she beat Mariah the first time too, and people kind of complained about that, and I was in that boat too, where I thought she should have won more decisively. But do you remember back in Ring of Honor when Bryan Danielson was like the master of the small package?
Yeah. Actually,
was winning
a little bit more.
I kind of think Tony's doing that again, and I'm here for it. I think it's great. And to your point, Megan Bayne. The only negative on Megan Bayne, and this is a small negative, is I think she needs a mouthpiece.
Yeah,
they obviously don't want her to talk to be the monster, but either
Penelope Ford is not it, by the way. Penelope Ford is not it. Penelope Ford should
no. Stokely Hathaway.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he is still the holder of the greatest line in the history of pro wrestling when he said, "Aside from my own actions, what did I do to deserve this?" So I'm all into Stokely, but I think she's a mouthpiece. But I'm with you, William. I think this actually raised Megan Bayne's stock, raised Tony Storm's stock, which is what a match like this is supposed to do. I really thought there were times where I'm like, oh God, they're going to switch the title here. And they shouldn't have. Tony is super over. But yeah,
I don't know who she's facing at all, but I don't think it was time for her to lose tonight. So
no, definitely not. And again, because she won with the small package and you didn't beat this woman with your finisher, now you can go back to that well, and it's gonna make sense.
All right, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe was a really entertaining match. Even though I knew who was going to win this match, Kyle Fletcher's another guy who's really young, 25 years old, has got a tremendous upside. He's already at a good level now, and I've never been disappointed when either Briscoe was in front of me on the screen. They go all out, but sometimes too much. So there's some things that Mark Briscoe did in this match. I'm like, dude, you're going to be okay. I thought they put on a good show. I love the way they're handling Kyle Fletcher long term, so I was okay with this. I don't think he's going to win the tournament, but at the same time, this is a good spot. I don't know if he's that to be 8 in the card that way, but you know what? That's fine. Then came one of the things that I told you at the beginning of the show needed to happen. All right, Bandito versus Chris
real fast. I can talk about Kyle Fletcher. Hey, Mark
sorry.
Briscoe. Put every belt on. I love Mark Briscoe so much. Put every belt on the guy. The guy was the most. Did you watch the pre-show when he did the interview with Tomohiro Ishii? Yes. I just love how by the end of it, Ishii had 2 microphones in one hand.
Yeah, I mean,
and didn't say a word.
He's very good on the mic.
I'm with that. Kyle Fletcher he's going to be that guy that once, that eventually you're going to have him versus Ospreay for the world championship, and he's going to be credible because they put this much stock into him. And man, but I was rooting for Mark Briscoe. I wanted the upset because
I've been rooting for Mark Briscoe for a long time. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, because he's a great wrestler, but for what that family went through, and that was a gut punch when Jay passed. Like I said, this next match, I didn't care how it ended. I didn't care. I mean, it lasted too long. Not Bandito's fault, but I'm sorry, Chris Jericho. I respect the hell out of you and what you've done for this sport, what you've done in this sport. I can't have you in this spot on a pay-per-view or a show anymore. He's just, you need to move on to manage something else. Bandito was 100% of why this match worked. It needed to end, to be honest with you, 8 minutes later, because there were certain points that Chris Jericho just wasn't physically there. Bandito was. But once again, it ended the right way, because if you're going to have a Ring of Honor World Champion, it needs to be on somebody that's not dragging things down. And nothing against Chris Jericho, just sometimes just the wrong person at the wrong time. Bandito needed to have that belt. I really wish they would take a different route with Ring of Honor and really treat it like something separate. That's not
me too.
reliant on AEW, but I don't know how you do it. But what did you think?
I think this might be the step in which are going that way, because especially if they run a lot of West Coast shows with the with the Mexican and the Latinos who like to go to those, having Bandito as your world champion is a good thing. I think we just lost William, but we'll see if he pops back on here. But no, I feel alone and scared.
And it was a big sneeze. I didn't want to blow up.
Okay.
I moved my head away.
I felt alone and scared there for a minute. But my only complaint about this is when you're going to do this ending and have people in the crowd point at the interference, I think then you set a precedent that then you should be doing that for every match on the show. And that's the only thing I didn't like about it. I would have liked it better if Aubrey would have seen the bat and called the pin off before it even happened.
Yeah, instead of doing it the way they did was weird because he wasn't really communicated well. Yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's a feel-good moment, and it was cool seeing Bandito celebrate with his sister and his mom?
His sister and his mom, and then he went over to the Spanish announce table. And
that was cool. It was a feel-good moment, so I'm not going to knock that.
Well, I felt good about Chris Jericho losing the title because it had to happen.
Yeah, and I'm with you with Jericho. I think Jericho's real role should be doing, again, he shouldn't be in there with luchadors. Like and this is not a knock on the guy. Dude, he worked his ass off.
Yeah.
I don't think
he's all, but it's just like, wow.
Yeah. Put him in there with guys who are a little bit slower, but younger dudes who he can really help elevate. But I don't ever want to say there's not a role. There's always a role for him when you have a veteran that can still work. But he really tried to work a lucha match, and you could tell, bro, I'm at 42, dude. I couldn't work that pace. And I keep myself in decent shape nowadays and do jiu-jitsu, and I couldn't keep myself at that pace. So good for him for trying though, man. But you're right. And Bandito, dude, I feel like Bandito could be that big Mexican star. Tony just has to go there with him.
Yeah, and he needs, when he does separate this company, it needs to be booked like Ring of Honor. But yeah, the next match I could have used about 2 minutes more. Adam Cole beating Daniel Garcia. I wasn't expecting a lot from this match because I wasn't paying attention to this feud as much as I probably should have been. I thought they put on a great match.
Yes.
And I don't know how Adam Cole is still as over as he is, but he is. And that crowd reacted to him like, damn. I enjoyed the match. Daniel Garcia, this loss doesn't hurt him. He's young enough. No. He's another one of those guys that they got that has a tremendous upside and a lot of time.
So, but Adam Cole it was time for him to be a champion at some point. And I thought the action in this match was good. Like I said, I actually could have used a little bit more of this match. I was pleasantly surprised with this because, like I said, I had not been paying attention to this particular part of the card.
No, it was great, and told the story of you have Adam Cole, the veteran, against again the younger guy, Daniel Garcia, and he won by using more veteran tactics, I would say. So I think it told a really good story. And again, it wasn't like he beat. It was a very decisive victory, but also one where you had Daniel Garcia fighting his ass off the whole time. So I think again, both guys get elevated from this. So it was a really good match, really good finish.
The next match was without saying the best match.
God. To watch as long as I've been watching since '82, and there's really the moves are going to be pretty much the same. The names change to protect the innocent, pretty much, but a lot of the stuff that they do is pretty much the same. They did at least two things in this match I'd never seen before. And they changed moves and did moves that I have never seen done the way that they did them. And Speedball Bailey, I've been watching him in TNA. I got to see him in person twice when he was out here. I've been watching.
Dude, I saw him at the FSW arena when there was like 40 of us there, and he went out there and fucking killed himself for that crowd.
I mean, and he moves like lightning. He covers that ring. I mean, he gets from post to post, and then you got two other guys in there that can still. Ricochet is just great. I mean, he was doing things. He was taking bumps, and the bumps. Not only did they do the acrobatic stuff that they took bumps that made me like, okay, whoa, please move your toe, do something, move. Okay, you're good.
But you want to know what? In most of those bumps, when you watch the replay, they were super safe. They landed nice and safe. They weren't, and that's really when it's great about pro wrestling. When it looks like this guy might be dead, but you watch a replay and you're like, oh, that was a super safe landing. Did you ever think that Ricochet would be this amazing heel? He is such a good heel, dude. When he did the Chris Bay benefit show, and Kill and I were there for that front row, just saying, because
I wanted to be, I couldn't. Yeah.
I know what's up, but he healed him. He healed himself to a local independent crowd. Within 5 minutes of that match, the crowd was booing him and hating him, and I was like, "Holy shit, this guy is better than I've ever given him credit for." Not as a wrestler, but as a character itself. And when the crowd started chanting "Bald Forever," I literally was giggling.
When Kenny Omega and then when they were slapping him on his head, I mean, that was entertaining. That match, Kenny Omega, listen, all you need to do is tell me that Kenny Omega is wrestling, and I'm going to tell you that that's probably going to be the best match on the card or one of the best matches on the card. He made Gabe Kidd.
Yeah.
He earned Gabe Kidd a lot of money.
Dude, that Gabe Kidd match blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Gabe Kidd will eventually end up in AEW, but he made Gabe Kidd a lot of money. Gabe Kidd did a great job that night too.
Yes,
but
that's not a knock on Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd held up his end of the bargain.
I mean, so now you have Kenny Omega in there, and then I love the match. The match was, I can't say much, and the way it was great. That inverted that was crazy. I didn't know when he climbed up to do that. We start positioning for the one wing angle. I'm like, okay, there's only one way you can go, and it better not be that way.
Yeah,
so when he did it inverted. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then it was cool because Bailey looked good because he was trying to stop it, but he was caught in the ropes. I loved everything about this match.
Yeah,
Okada coming out, and you know what? It was kind of just going to come out and stare, but I know what they were doing. The only reason Okada has a title right now is so you can have a title for title, and they're going to create a new title at All In. Okada versus Omega. I don't even need to know what else is on the card.
I'm with you, brother.
That's there. That's there. So that they did a good job building it. Everything they did tonight, it was in regard of treating All In as a huge, massive show. And like I'm going to go along with you. I will wait till Wednesday. Wednesday. Let me explain. Make your case for what the fuck you just did.
Dude, this was legit probably maybe even the best three-way match I've ever seen. And
And they're hard to do, by the way. Those aren't easy.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, I think everyone again comes out of this elevated. But to your point, yeah, you're right. I do think everything has been pushed as being this is all build up to All In. But at no point did I feel like I wasted money watching this paper.
Oh no. I was engaged. I'm glad to see them doing this because this has been one of the criticisms against them is that the matches don't have a payoff. There's no payoff because the angles didn't work or things like that, or they didn't do a build. And then you just don't. There's no way you can say that they're not doing it now.
I feel like they have so many pieces in place. And like I was telling my buddy Paul, I'm like, I don't know where they're going next. This is before the show even started. And I really kind of love that. Like I was when I'm invested in knowing, like, I don't know where they're going next. Let me see where they're going. That does mean a lot. So some more power to it. Again, it's always tough to end a pay-per-view on a sour note like that. But again, we'll see what happens on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday night, they got me watching it. But hey, you know what? People are watching. They put out the numbers for the streaming numbers. People are watching this show, and they're on the higher numbers now that they're on streaming. By the way, I don't really get a chance. I got Roku here. I don't watch any TV like that anymore. All my wrestling shows I'm watching from a computer. I'm watching an app or something like that. So now that we finally get these numbers in, they made the right move. HBO is happy with them. Max is happy with them. So now, they got me compelled. I'm compelled to watch. By the way, 80 of you watching right now, please like and subscribe. And if you're watching on Twitter, which a lot of you are, youtube.com at the Sci-Fi Center.
Smash that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, like, subscribe. We don't get anything from being on X or Twitter, whatever it is. I'm glad that you see us there, but please come over to the mothership and hook us up. Yeah, we get demonetized because Brad, but still, it's still fun. But
hey, listen, I was the one who played like the Superman clip the other night, so that got, or what was the one we played?
That didn't get us demonetized. Megan did. Megan too got us demonetized.
Oh yeah. Well, that wasn't my idea. That was you, man.
Yeah, but it's 14 cents. I mean, I think we'll be all right. So yeah, the main event. Move on to the main event. John Moxley defeated Swerve Strickland with everybody in this match coming in, which was kind of confusing. But like I said, the more I think about it, I think this is going to be a spaghetti thing that we're going to have to untangle Wednesday night. Why did you go with the Young Bucks? Why was Adam Page out there? What is that setting up? This was the only match that I did not have a straight line to All In yet. Because now what are you telling me? Because how do I feel about who wins the Owen Hart tournament? Who's in that draw that could win, that could enrich this story? Because I truly believe Swerve needs to be at All In. Moxley does not mean to be. That's what puts doubt in my mind about Will Ospreay being in the main event at All In, because it doesn't line up with the story that they're trying to tell unless they throw a massive wrench on Wednesday.
I honestly wonder if you just do Swerve Hangman again with the winner being the number one contender, and you have them just kill each other again, but then they finally shake hands afterwards or something like that. I don't know. And that's kind of what I'm intrigued about. We'll see what happens.
Because you're going to have Omega and Okada, which, like I said, I don't know who Toni Storm is facing. I don't think it's going to be Megan Bayne. So I need to see who she's facing. Tag team wise, I don't know who they're building up for that, but that's fine. We have a lot of time, but a lot of them and then they had injuries too, because Switchblade was supposed to be involved in all this.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Jay White, and it's supposed to be Jay White and Ospreay instead of Kevin Knight. But hey, man, like Kevin Knight got thrown in there and over delivered.
Did a great job. Like I said, they got this guy. A lot of these guys, like Switchblade, Will Ospreay, these guys are under contract. It's not like they have to have it happen like right now. So I'm good there. It's just so, like I said, Wednesday is a must watch. Wednesday is going to be a must watch Dynamite, because I got to see how they handle this on Wednesday will determine, how I feel about this pay-per-view in totality. I think it was a great pay-per-view. I was engaged. Some matches were but even the matches that were mid for me were still really good matches that were borderline Dynamite. But you know what? You put them on the pay-per-view, it didn't hurt me. And like I said, I'm different about the Owen Hart tournament. I think that's a total TV thing, but I can see what you're saying, that it raises the prestige. I thought making it for the world title, we just did that alone, but I can see where you're wanting every leg of it to be. But yeah, tonight was definitely unpredictable. I did not predict. I predicted that Swerve would walk away with the title. I predicted that Willa Yuta would finally be the scapegoat, and they start beating on him, and somebody comes in, and the ops come in and save him and do all that stuff.
Dude, have Danielson come back at some point and save
Yeah.
like there's actually a comment here, and I'm actually kind of into it. Someone said sorry, I just read it and now I can't find it. So I apologize whoever wrote this was saying they think that Danielson could come back and face Moxley. And I'm like, I'm not against that if Danielson comes back, because you still have Wheeler using the Busaiku knee. And you can have Danielson come back and do that, whatever. Again, he doesn't want to work full time, but have him come back for that big match.
Yeah, he definitely can come back. And like I said, I think Wheeler's gonna get cost out of that group. And I thought it was gonna be tonight because he fucked up the match. He almost cost him the match. I'm like, okay, this is where they're gonna do this, and this is a perfect spot to do that because it allows the Death Riders to go in their separate ways. Because I'm tired of I forgot what the damn the belt looks like. It's been in a briefcase.
Yeah, that's
October.
Of anything that's got to stop. I want to see the belt again. Just you want to look at a couple of these questions while we're.
What do you want me to go
before I got to go because I got to work super early tomorrow? But
and then we got to get on.
Yeah, Aaron Pritchard asked, "What thoughts on what Bret Hart said about AEW?" Did you see this, William? Did you read about this?
What did he say? I heard that he said something.
He basically said most of what he sees of AEW. Or he didn't really say he watches AEW. He said he feels like they're actors pretending to be wrestlers. And all I'm going to say is Bret Hart is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But every generation in wrestling, this has happened since the Lou Thesz days. Lou Thesz said Harley Race was too acrobatic and his wrestling didn't look real. Harley Race said the same shit about the group after him. I think Lou Thesz also talks shit about Ric Flair. So all I'm saying is every generation is going to shit on the generations after them because what they grew up with in wrestling is what they love in pro wrestling. And if it's not like their vision, they're not going to love it. And that's just what it is.
All right. Well, hearing that, I think Bret Hart's one of the greatest wrestlers ever lived. But here's the thing. Not only does he sound like the get off my yard guy, he really that's counter to what even he wrestled a guy for years in Shawn Michaels that did the theatrics. None of these guys are not great athletes. Ricochet's a great. All these people are great athletes. But what these guys that wrestled in the 90s and the 80s have to understand is that they are competing for the attention span of people who can go play Call of Duty, who can go play Gears of War, who can go do something else with their time. You have to match the environment that you're around. We didn't have when Bret Hart was wrestling Steve Austin, we didn't have a lot of the stuff that we have now. Really they have to fight for the attention for,
You can look at that in a lot of media too, right? Like a lot of TV shows, a lot of the most popular TV shows are no longer slow burns. Like I don't know if I shouldn't say Twin Peaks. I don't watch a whole show, but I don't know if some of those early like late 90s shows work in today's environment to keep people's attention, especially in that format where everything's just go, 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 go. So I do think that's true for a lot of different formats. What I'll basically say is like Bret Hart's in his 60s now. I don't expect him to love what pro wrestling has become, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their own preferences, right, and their own tastes. I truly Bret Hart's era is my favorite era of pro wrestling because it's what I grew up on. But I also love modern wrestling too. So it's give and take. And the funny part is the little bit I watch of WWE every now and again, that way more feels like actors trying to be pro wrestlers than AEW's ever felt. AEW feels a lot like people who grew up watching wrestling that love pro wrestling and want to be wrestlers.
Because that criticism he gave, like you said, that applies to WWE as much, if not more.
Yeah,
I still do watch enough of it so that I can comment on it. But yeah, it's 3 hours. It's like it's hard to watch, and I just don't. I'm not engaged. I'm disappointed with the decision tonight, but I was engaged for the entire thing. And like I said, I got Wednesday as a backstop. I wish they were on Monday so I could find out in 24 hours. But I can wait till Wednesday. I can watch it live on Max. So, all right, man. Hey, thank you for making some time.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, good seeing you, man.
Likewise.
Have a good early day at work. But yeah, we'll text after Wednesday, and hopefully we will be like, oh yeah, okay, got it.
Or be angry, and I'll be like, William, let me back on your show, please. I'm so angry.
Yes, I'll be streaming. All right, Mondo. Thanks a lot, man.
Take it easy, guys. Everybody, thank you so much.
All right, that was Mondo. Whenever we have wrestling and I have him available, I want to talk because, like I said, I've known him for years, and we can read each other's minds.
He's out in Vegas, right?
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
All right. I don't know what this means. I don't know what happened today. How you
Oh,
doing,
I think.
Tim?
Well. Okay, so I think I know what you were talking about, Zach, because he was talking more about the UFC movie he's doing, and he posted a picture with Dana White in the Octagon, and it was kind of like a hey, I'm getting ready to make the UFC
Oh
movie.
yeah. Hey,
Dana White's, I mean, he's got some, he's not the most
he's not a
likable.
very likable guy.
Yeah.
And just like Mondo was saying, he doesn't watch a lot of UFC anymore because he doesn't feel good watching company. Dana White's one of those people that's,
Yeah.
I understand that.
Well, here's the other thing too is I mean, this movie would not be getting made without the cooperation of Dana White and the UFC. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, yeah, you can't make it. But like I said, you can still. There's a lot of people that have an opinion about TKO and Dana White, and it's not all. I haven't heard too much positive, but I'm not a UFC guy.
Well, as you said many times on this show, William, it's like
There's an asshole behind every
there's
cover.
nothing you watch, nothing you buy, nothing you enjoy that doesn't have an asshole attached to it.
Now, here's a caveat with them: it's entertainment. You have options, not like it's food. So it's like I ate a burrito. I went out and got a.
Yeah, I saw the question earlier. I was going to bring that up.
Got a burrito to go with my undersized hamburger there. So yeah, we were good there. I mean, added a little bit more time to my night, but okay, I was fine. I went right around here and this place
and going back to Zach, I mean, it's like I don't doubt for a second, he would work with Ezra Miller and Amber Heard and other cast members he's had that have gotten into different controversies before. So again, that's and now none of them I think reach the level of like what Dana White has gotten in trouble for. And again,
well, plus he's a bit of an ass. So yeah, that's
Dana White,
yeah. On top of all those things, he's just I don't know. Yes, I do. I actually have some Helsing in here. I actually have some Helsing hardcovers in here, so I have heard of it, Joker. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna get to all you guys' questions, but I'm sorry. A lot of it piled up while we were trying to kick because I only have Mondo on here for a brief amount of time, so I wanted him to pick out questions he wanted to ask, and he went ahead and did that. So that's cool. 95 of you watching right now, please like, subscribe, share. I think you guys like this slot. This day, the 9 o'clock slot, we've done really well with. Speedball. I listen. I mean, Mondo's right. Let's wait till Wednesday. But right now, I'm not feeling good about it. But Speedball, as somebody who watches TNA on since its inception and has seen what Speedball and the X Division did when he was there, I expected no less from him, and he paid off. Ghostface, the Young Bucks helping John could mean that Jack Perry versus Moxley is an actual option, especially if they made a deal. The door is open. All right, let's see if I can get through. I think Adam Cole winning was the right move. I think Ospreay is winning the title at Forbidden Door. Wembley. That's a good point because, like I said, Ospreay is game. I don't think he has to win anything now. He's got years on his contract, and I think there's there will be a time to put the belt on him, but it doesn't necessarily need to happen now.
Yeah. I was about to say a little bit more about Dana White and all that. Because see, my one of my big issues going with him specifically is and I'm sure Mono is the same thing. It's like because Dana's been if you follow MMA, which of course I do, you're probably well aware that he's not. He's a great businessman. He's brought the UFC to big heights like it was before, but he's not well liked among MMA fighters. Among UFC fighters, and a lot of it boils down to Dana, pay your fucking fighters what they deserve, because there's definitely some a lot of fighters getting cheated, they're fighting UFC. So
not getting their market value, and that I do know, but even though I don't know a lot of UFC, that's one of the things I usually pay attention to the business structure of things, even when I don't.
Yeah. What I think it's kind of similar also. I mean, I think also in WWE, isn't it? Where Vince McMahon kind of also ran into some trouble for that. Like a lot of his wrestlers are like not getting their slice of the pie.
Well, yeah, and then when there was no other company, he could get away with it. Once W came in, you couldn't do that anymore because Tony Khan could buy and sell WWE and then give it away. That's how much money the Khan family has. So they will pay wrestlers. So you couldn't say, hey, you know what? If you're at the top of your talent and you don't want to take a huge pay cut, you don't want to go be wrestling for TNA or New Japan or anything, and you're living a lifestyle back before AEW, Vince could be like, you know what? You take this. This is your offer. That's it. you'll work for what we want you to work for, or you'll take a huge pay cut somewhere else, and you won't have a lot of this other stuff, the add-on stuff that comes from being on TV every week. So when AEW came around, and Tony Khan was able to come close, match, or exceed those contracts and put you on weekly TV. Yeah, is it WWE? No, but it's not the pay cut that you would take, and that's what was happening for 20 years. From 2001 to 2018, 19, is Vince would treat people like shit, not just in the not paying them, but treating them like shit literally, and they had nowhere to go. He could do awful things to people.
Yeah,
he's alleged to, but they had nowhere to go.
This is recently. I forget who it was. They had on the Daily Show. Since Jon Stewart's come back, but it was like somebody from the FCC, or then they were talking about monopolies. How they investigating.
The FCC, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things they mentioned, the signs that the government looks out for about whether a company is turning into a monopoly is like how it treats its if it treats its customers horribly, that's a sign it's becoming a monopoly because they know they've got a lock on their customer base. It's like we got a lock on this market for whatever we're offering, and it's similar thing with the like what you're saying pro wrestling. It's like when it was WWE that really had the market locked. It's like then they if you're trying to be a pro wrestler, you're kind of screwed there.
Yeah, like look what they were doing with Jeanette, what's her face? The girl that's suing them, that literally had, was defecated on according to her account, and all the people that were involved, and all the people that settled out and did like that. A lot of those people were like, what do I do? If I don't take his deal, then I don't have a livelihood. There's nowhere else for me to go. Now there's places where if Vince, not Vince anymore, but if, the current TKO, if TKO lowballs you, you can go somewhere else. And with AEW, you can take their money, and he allows you to do indies. Like you can go to Tokyo and make some money. Kenny Omega goes back and forth, and he allows you like Ricochet. Ricochet is under contract, right, with AEW. Ricochet's out here wrestling in events that I know of. He lives out here, and he's wrestling. He wrestled at one of the BF Big Valley Wrestling, who's putting on our event on April 16th. He showed up at a BFW event. So he's taking indie bookings on top of making a decent amount. You can't do that with WWE, and so the monopoly was not good, and it really hurt.
This is the reason why a lot of UFC fighters are starting to move over to one championship, and now there's new fight. Yeah, one championship because they're kind of like the UFC of Asia. They're really on the come up. Like one championship's really getting big, so they're legit becoming they're getting to the point where they could start becoming a legit rival, for the UFC and the MMA world. I mean, UFC.
Whatever happened to Bellator? That's the only one I knew that was
that got. I believe that got consolidated with UFC. Like UFC bought up many of the other in the other MMA organizations. I mean, so. But yeah, I believe I need to look that again. But I believe Bellator is.
What was the one that Gina Carano? Gina Carano was a champion.
She was under Bellator, I believe. Yes, and yeah. Let me look that up.
That's how much I know. I don't watch a lot of UFC unless there's big names. But even some of the big names, I like watching Conor McGregor. He's an awful person. I did not realize. And it sucks because that guy the sky's the limit for a guy with that kind of talent and personality, as long as it's not for real. I mean, I need if it's an act, I'm okay with it. But damn, dude, he just barely got off of court cases by the skin of his teeth. I'm like, I don't know about.
Yeah, he's definitely out there.
That was what Gina Carano was in.
Okay, yeah. There were a lot of fighters that were on the come up. Strikeforce it was kind of like a stepping stone for a lot of kind of like when MMA was first getting mainstream. It was kind of like almost like a stepping stone organization because there were a lot of fighters I discovered through Kung Lee. Saw him through that at Gina Carano, same thing, and then a lot of them made the jump to UFC from there. Again, like the UFC now, they're as far as the MMA world is concerned, they're obviously the biggest organization. But I mean, Aaron's right. One championship, it's like they're as I call it, the UFC of Asia. They're the biggest MMA organization. I believe they're based out of either Thailand or Vietnam. But they're getting big. They are really getting big. They could legit be like a rival for the UFC in the next couple of years.
Well, especially if you get into the China market.
Yeah,
I mean, in India, dude, that's enough there to overtake it. We only got 350 million people in this country,
and MMA is getting big in China and India. Yeah.
China has 3.5 and India has 1 point. So yeah, if you just had those two markets alone and you closed out, because once you have that market, you can close out the outside market. You don't have to say, and China can say, we don't want to air your shit here. Just like they do with our movies now. You know, they say, yep, certain movies, nope, we don't want them competing with ours or whatever. You know, they just say nope, and then you're like, that's why everybody's all sudden, it's going to get released. It's going to release in China because that's a huge market, especially for action movies. China, man, that's a big market for action.
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, I would know. You know, that's my kind of one of my areas of expertise as far as you know, the cinematically and you know, culturally, the whole martial arts side of it. And that's why, of course, when like big superhero movies are coming up, big tentpoles, I mean, the studios, they really try to, you know, secure that China release, because I mean, like Aquaman, the first Aquaman did like a third of its business in China alone.
All the James Bond movies make more internationally than they do domestically. So their intake comes from places like China, Korea, you know, as long as, except for Die Another Day. That one didn't do well in China, Korea for obvious reasons, because it was about North Korea. But yeah, I was not a big UFC fan, but I understand he has to talk. Obviously, he has to deal with Dana White for UFC.
I was going to pull blood drugs. We go ahead and read it.
Rasmus Vince, it's a new company. Alpha Entertainment will produce wrestling TV movies. They're currently in talks with Fox Distribution. That's fine. Now, this question was asked to me a while back. I don't think it's. Yeah, go ahead, Vince. The problem is the negotiation with Fox aren't going to go anywhere, in my opinion. Here's why: the negotiation with Fox, with SmackDown, didn't go anywhere. Nothing he has right now, nothing Vince is going to create is going to outdo SmackDown that USA already had, and then Fox was already. Remember, that was on FS1. SmackDown was on FS1, and they decided not to negotiate again. So if they weren't going to negotiate for the A product, an upstart, yeah, maybe they'll get low, you know, maybe if the price is low, but then you're competing. Look who you're competing with. You're literally trying to compete for talent that can outbid the shit out of you. Tony Khan could outbid Vince when he was in WWE. And TKO definitely can. They choose to lowball. They have the money. They choose to lowball. So I don't see where he's going to get, you know. And plus, remember why he left. Remember why we're talking about Vince McMahon outside of WWE. There's a reason. And I don't know if a lot of people are going to have to work with him. Like I said, it's not like the old days where you had to work with him. It's kind of sleazy. I mean, do you really want to, you know, if you're a female wrestler or if you're, you know, I mean, are you going to leave what WWE and AEW is right now to go to something like that? I don't know. I could be wrong, but thank you for the super chat, Rational. But yeah, I believe this is viable when I see it. Suicide Squad 2016 wasn't played in China for the anti-authority message. Oh yeah, as the character Katana was also Japanese.
Katana, yeah. There's definitely
that movie still ended up making a lot of money.
Yeah, that's but there's definitely. I mean, if you look historically, there's definitely bad blood between China and Japan.
Yeah, but not if he gets outbid. But first of all, Brock Lesnar needs to stay away for a little bit. He's still involved. He's named as one of the people in that lawsuit, and then if those allegations are true, he's done some pretty graphic stuff, and you probably don't want to be attached to him right now. But let's say, for argument's sake, Brock Lesnar wasn't available. Brock Lesnar is a mercenary. He's going to take the highest bidder, and Vince isn't outbidding Tony Khan if Tony Khan even wanted him, and he's not going to outbid TKO if TKO wanted him. But if no one wanted him, he just takes what Vince gives him. He's still associated. Like I said, we still have a lawsuit going on. We still have subpoenas being served. We still have this stuff is still going to be in circulation. Do you really want to have on your TV network? So we launched this thing on Fox or FS1. We get Brock Lesnar as your big guy coming in, and then now we got a court date, and literally with someone saying, this guy defecated on me. That guy right there, the guy that's on your poster. And I'm not trying to be gross and probably got demonetized, but the guy.
Not trying to be gross, just trying to be thorough and recounting the facts of the case.
So we're going to have testimonies and stuff with this kind of stuff coming up while you're launching a brand. That's going to be tough. I don't see it happening, but hey, crazier shit has happened.
Let me go back to Drogas. I was going to, which again, yeah, this movie literally is not happening without the cooperation of the UFC and by extension Dana White. So,
And by the way, this isn't him. I mean, him approving of anything. This is business.
Yes, and see that's what when we get into conversations about these kinds of things. I mean, I think so much of it is sort of rooted in the idea that, well, if you do business with this individual or this organization, or if you as a consumer, give your business to them, you are implicitly approving of X, Y, or Z controversy or act that they have, been caught in. And it's like, I mean, it's just not that black and white. It's just as again, to go back to William's point, it's like there is a dickhead involved with literally everything you have in your home, every movie you've ever watched, every piece of meat you've ever consumed. It's just it is what it is. The thing is, like, Zach is not approving of any of like the shit Dana's gotten, any of the shit that he stepped into. You just want it's like,
but you want to make a UFC movie, you can't do it without you can't.
Exactly.
Like, I can't make a movie if I wanted to make a current movie, a documentary about the current goings on in the White House. I can't do it without a current a specific person. If I want his input, or if I want access to the White House, there's somebody in there that I'm not really on board with that I would need to have access to. But you know what? Business is business. We get things done. We don't like. We got coworkers that neighbors we don't like. We still find a way to live with them.
One, like, what was the other kind of connection I was going to make with that too? You made me lose my train of thought there with the White House analogy.
It's sad because you're not.
It was going back to I'll think of it in a second, but
that's pretty sad, Brad. But okay.
Well, you talked about something else. You made me think of that. And
you were a journalist. You were like got thousands of words in your head. You just did them like an 89-year-old man. Like, okay.
And an MMA fighting company just got created called Global Fight League. Yeah. Heard about that. Like I said, it's like, and that's why that's why Dan needs to check himself on that, because it's like, we got some of these
it'll be better. It'll be better if another company that can offer the money, because guess what? You won't have to, if he's treating you in a way you don't think, or not paying you the way, you have options. And I think for the health, and not just the mental health, the physical well-being of these people that are in these combat sports or in wrestling or anything like that, you need to put yourself in the best situation physically too, because half of the people that I watched in the 80s are dead because they ran themselves into the ground because they had to get that paycheck. They had no insurance. You couldn't stop working, so you took painkillers. So you need to put yourself in a situation to where you don't have to run yourself in the ground, and you don't need a cane or a wheelchair by the time you're 45 years old to move around to these conventions that are really your only way of making money. So I want to see the environment where all these things get better so that the people live a little bit longer. Yeah. So I'm not looking at Hawk and Animal facing off against the British Bulldog and realizing that everybody on that damn screen is dead because of, they ran themselves into the ground.
Yeah. So, and here's actually the other point I was going to make, because there's a Buffy reboot. I know William hates that word, but reboot, reimagine, whatever you want to call it, in the works. And now,
if it's containing the normal cast, it's not a reboot.
Okay, well, there's a new Buffy project, in the works now.
Relaunch, say relaunch.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. And now whatever you might think of the creator, and we've definitely shared our thoughts on that individual on here, both relating to us.
He's done great work.
Yes, but relating to his work on Justice League and other things. I mean, it's come out that Joss Whedon is, to put it gently, a royal asshole. But with this, with this new Buffy, it's like he is going to get. They have, as the creator, it's like he is going to get some kind of like credit on that and some kind of percentage. Exactly. So that's not a matter of approving or disapproving of the way he's conducted himself in the past. Just that he created this franchise. You want to do something new with it, okay? It's like he's got to be involved with that in some way, even if he's not like on set, which I don't think it will be. But even if he's without that, it's like it's still going to be some kind of like honorary.
You're going to have him on set and have Spike on set. That might be I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, probably not. But he'll still get like some kind of like a contractual credit on there. He'll definitely get some kind of payment.
You'll get a royalty.
He still gets royalties now, for Buffy, for Avengers. Like, he could retire tomorrow. Like, after that, it's like,
be careful with Buffy though, because the general audience doesn't regard some of the things that he is that we know of the same way we do. The people who aren't that on the web that don't lend themselves to that still think as Buffy and Josh Whedon and Firefly as synonymous. So I think he might end up being involved to the point where I don't know if the general audience, not the internet, not us on YouTube, not on Twitter, the general audience associates Buffy with Josh Whedon. So I'm going to be curious to see how they work that out, and he decides he doesn't want to be put away, because even though we are like, oh, this guy's a piece of whatever, how many times have we had these situations come up where it's divided an audience because they have decided, that it's happened before. Hell, I mean, all these celebrities and divorces, people crapping in their beds and all that, when it sounds like clearly somebody's a shithead here, but you never know how your general audience is going to take this. So that's why I'm have to be real careful with Joss Whedon as far as including goes.
But again, like whatever level of involvement he has or doesn't have,
he's still going to be there. He's going to be around.
They got to run it by him. They got to, he's going to have like executive producer. Even if he doesn't spend a day on set, he's going to get money from it. And it's like, again, he created the character, he created the franchise. The people who want to do something further with Buffy, he's got to be involved in some capacity with that, even if it's like I just get my stamp of approval on it, and that's that. It doesn't mean they like Joss. It doesn't mean they like what he's done. It doesn't mean that they think he's a great dude. It just means that like he's the toll booth you have to go through to get this thing off the ground.
Yeah, business. Listen, we work with people. I mean, everybody. There are assholes all around you. If you could put on those glasses from They Live, I'm pretty sure, and they showed you the assholes that are around you. You would want to take them off because you just don't want to know. But we do business, so there you go. There you go.
Happy fight, man. But but that was still the crease. That was still Joss who.
No, I don't think Josh. The version of the TV is the one he's the executive producer of. I don't know if he had anything to do with the one, the Christy Swanson, and the one where Pee Wee Herman.
No, he was the writer on that.
Was he the writer on that?
Yeah.
Was he? Let me see. Because like I said, I never. Dude, that's a 30. Oh my God, it's been 35 years since it.
And guess what? Ben Affleck was in it. Now he wasn't a big time. He was like basketball player number 8 or something in it. So it's not like a massive thing that. But he was in it, and then he would have
1992. Wow, my God, wow. I hate
that
when you
was,
guys bring up this.
That
shit.
was right. That was also like one of the first things that Paul Rubens did after he got in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and he ended up making. I'm glad Paul Rubens found a way to run with that, because if you watch Pee Wee Herman's show on Showtime, you understood how you kept a kid show on the air with many of those same elements just kind of hidden. But nobody, it clicked after Pee Wee got caught in the theater doing his thing. Now it's like, wait a minute, what's that character's name? What's zombie? What did he wish for? Oh, I get it now. It took you years, but all right, written by Josh.
And he would go on to be the spleen in Mystery Men. Just saying that.
Yeah, but you can't really hurt his career. He's Pee Wee Herman, so yeah. That movie, you're not going to win me over. That movie was. I can taste how awful that fucking movie was. That's how bad Mystery Men was. Yep, Joss Whedon, 20th Century Fox. So yeah, he's still getting money.
By the way, because I've seen people doing fan casts, so I'm certainly doing that myself for Brawler is what it's called. There was one, I think it was on Forbes. There was one article. They were actually listing off a lot of people that Zach has previously worked with that you might reach out to for this, and like he listed names like Ray Fisher and listed names like Joe Manganiello, and like I don't know, could you see them boarding this?
Yeah. A lot of these directors, it's very common for a director. Dude, when you're being put in charge of a movie, it's a risk. You want people that you work with and you feel safe around. You know what to expect out of Ray Fisher and Joe Manganiello, just like James Gunn knows what to. Everybody, James Gunn cast the same people. Yeah, you know why? Because it's hundreds of millions of dollars on his ass, and you want to work with people that you feel comfortable with. You know what? They can act like something else. So yeah, I see. Get all the cast of Rebel Moon. Dude. Have Gal Gadot be a female.
She'd do great. Yeah, she would do great in it.
Yeah.
Of course, Aaron and I, of course, have one particular guy, Brent Foster, who we think would do awesome in it. Just saying, Zach, if you're watching,
this guy
Life After Fighting.
Give you kickbacks. I mean, you should be his promoter or his agent, because you. I mean, damn. More people probably know about Ben Foster than from this channel. Because I mean, other than the people who've seen his movies. but you're like, you know,
And Bren would be
I bet
awesome.
that is
in
Glenn
this-
Fodder.
in-
And unfortunately, your way of promoting it means that he only has the one movie. Is the way you promote it.
well, he's done plenty of work prior. But that was like, I believe that was his first time as leading man. He had a TV series as part of too called Last Ship. But as far as like Brent Foster is like the action movie, like leading star guy, that was really his first big one and his directorial debut as well. So even though he's like done a lot of film work, a lot of TV work previously, Life After Fighting, that's kind of we'll be thinking like Brent Foster as like the movie like martial arts star. That's really kind of like the sort of ground zero for it.
Oh, by the way, a little movie perp left me a comment somewhere when we were about
Yeah, I saw him in the chat last night.
Yeah, let's see. There was something he said. I didn't get a chance to read. It's something about pink. A lot of pink happening in the. By the way, those of you who were able to make it for the Patreon stream, I hope you had some fun.
Which, by the way, I wasn't able to be on that tonight, as I told him. Normally, when we do those, I'll be on there. I was out. Part of it was I actually went and saw Minecraft. I said, okay, I'll go to this look, even though I'm not a big Minecraft guy. I think if you're into Minecraft, you'll probably dig it. And this is.
I'm happy for that movie because, like I said, I'm happy to see somebody
for
take
theaters definitely
and pay off because and it doesn't need to be for me. I will never see that movie, but I'm glad it's doing well. All right, he said the summer is going to be pink again. This time with some black. Megan 2 Blockbuster of the Year. I think Megan 2 is going to make a lot of money. I don't know about Blockbuster of the Year, but I think Megan 2 is going to make a lot just from the trailer alone. I'm like, okay, I went to go see Megan. I thought I had some fun with it. It wasn't like the movie of the year for me, but this movie, they've done all the right sequel stuff. I think Megan. I think there's from this point on, I think the movie theater should be happy. I think Sinners is going to do well. I think Superman is going to do well. I know Jurassic World is going to do well, and I think Fantastic Four is going to do well. So I don't want to hear this. Well, the theaters are back. No, because we still need years of this shit. But I think that there's a lot of movies coming out this year that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and at the very least, I'm intrigued to see, and then I'm going to see. So I think Megan 2 is going to make a lot of money, and I know I'm going to be promoting it, which means I get more Megan shirts. Yay! And people. Start coming down and get this shit, right? I mean, and don't just take one. Take 4. They sent me like 100 Megan shirts last time. That movie's 2 years old. It's almost impossible to give away this much stuff. Unless I go to the movie. Sometimes I go to the movie. I'll go to the movie and I'll be tossing shirts. But then I don't have enough. And he's like, "How come I didn't get one?" And I'm like, well, "Here's my card."
So you mentioned also Jurassic World. Like, there's another one I literally just discovered that's coming up that kind of scratches a little bit of an itch for me. It's called Primitive War. It's based on a book. It's a dinosaur movie. And it's set during the Vietnam War, where these this one platoon just run into.
You brought this up before, and it was we were looking that up. It sounds
well because it's well. No, I'm looking forward to it because it's apparently going to be rated R. It's like I've been waiting for so long for the Jurassic Park kind of scale and effects with an R rating.
You just want an R-rated dinosaur.
It's like I want the 3Ds in Jurassic Park, which the closest we've gotten to that so far is the Carnosaur moves, but they're the Corbin ones, which means that the effects are very low budget. So they definitely are very violent, but the dinosaurs are just not on the level of Jurassic Park. And they put out a trailer for this. I'm very much looking forward to this because this might finally be the one I've again like the R-rated just balls to the wall, we're just dinosaurs just ripping people's heads off, going just the one step further because you're never going to see R-rated Jurassic Park.
Because they want to some of the stuff in Jurassic Park is borderline, but I have just never. I missed a boat on Jurassic Park. I was a grown ass man by the time that came out. And I just had like I said, I went through my dinosaur phase when I was 5 and 6 and 7 years old.
So lame.
And, Land of the Lost and all that kind of stuff, But now it's like it just doesn't intrigue me. I mean, I used to have little plastic dinosaurs. I used to have them all. I could name every dinosaur in the world. I mean, it was just, I was big in it. But like I said, I outgrew it before Jurassic Park came along. So it's like I have no desire to see that movie. Superman, I obviously have, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see where this can go, and I'm open to just having a lot of fun with that. Now, when you say excited, nah. I'm excited to see how it does as far as what it'll do for me. People are asking me, I like this is some kind of what are you going to do when Superman makes $1 billion? sell more Superman comics. That's what I do. I can only win here. There's no losing for me. If Superman, if we get Superman in a conversation, a daily conversation, or a conversation like that, that's only good news for me. As long as we're not being animals and savages about it, like this week. But if we're having to talk about, I had a guy come in here today. He had a standard Superman shirt on, and we were talking about the logo and things like that. We were like, we were having a conversation about it. That kind of conversation is cool, but like I said, if Superman is in the news and I can sell you something with a red S on it, I'm going to. I'd love for Superman to make $1 billion, because that means that Superman, one of the hardest IPs to sell, is now sellable again. Batman's been the only one that's been able to do that for you, and we've already discussed those reasons. So I'm okay. Listen, Superman doing $1 billion isn't going to change how I feel about Man of Steel. Man of Steel doing $670 million, which is much more than any of the Reeves movies ever did not change my opinion and how I felt about seeing Christopher Reeves movies. Nothing's going to happen. Nobody's coming in, your room and reaching under your pillow and taking your childhood dreams. It's just, these movies stand on their own. They're there forever. And the next person who does a Superman movie needs to have that license and have that freedom to do theirs. So I'm okay with it. I still think that we're in for some wild stuff. If Superman is successful, I think that they're going to leave him alone. They're going to leave him in the room alone with the superhero toy, and he's going to do some wild shit that I think is going to be kind of cool. Right now, they're playing reaction, and let's hope it does this and let's hope it does that. And do we spend any money advertising all that? They're still kind of, I hope the next group of Warner Brothers Discovery people, the next management, I hope that they start, acting like they believe in their product when they start promoting their product. Because like I said, I really think that James Gunn is one group of executives away from blowing this whole DC thing up. Him, Scott Snyder, Jim Lee, sitting at a cafe just talking about, just a round table, what's working in the paper and staples. Scott Snyder tells you what's working in the animation. Scott, maybe Jim Lee tells you that. And then they start putting their heads together and be like, okay, let's see if we can put this type of thing together and and make some real money off of it. Kind of be like Disney does. Disney makes the majority of their money off of parks. They use these IPs to amplify that, and whenever they farm one out, it ends up as a ride. But $38 billion in revenue in the parks dwarfs everything that they've ever made when it comes to they've made more in 1 year. They've made more in 1 year in their parks than they did if you combine all the MCU movies together. And that's just 1 year. So let's see.
Again, there's that one soundbite that we just want to talk about that relates to Superman from Cinema Comics. So we want to do that when we have more. I mean, again,
there's more to it, because like I said, I need
there will be more to it. There will be more to it by the time we get the movie, because it's like something James Gunn talked about with, like, this is what you can expect from my Superman movie. But yes, we want to kind of dig into that because it relates to things we talked about here on the channel, like, what could this entail, where could this lead, what doors could this open, et cetera, et cetera. But again, if they had been on camera, like if his on stage has been on camera, that might have been made it easier for us to like kind of just
well, not just that. I need context. I need more than just what they said, because I saw what he said, but it's just not enough there to really run with unless you're just going to run right into a wall. I look forward to having a conversation, but I just don't want to I don't want to put on the foil hat. I want to know what he meant, and we are enough closer than I am right now, because like I said, otherwise the conversation gets all poisoned and shit. What do I think of WrestleMania card? I think it kind of sucks right now. They're still building this card, by the way. I don't think if I look at the WrestleMania card, I don't think it's been. And WrestleMania is in like 2 weeks, guys. It's the week after next, and they're still building matches. Let's look at WrestleMania, and like I said, I'm only excited because it's here in Vegas, and that means all the wrestlers are going to be here. Oh wow, these seats are still too fucking expensive. 400. I showed you. I don't know if you were on on the stream when I did it, when I showed you the view of the seats that they wanted 450 for.
Yeah.
And like I was telling people earlier today, the ring is literally this. Fold this receipt in half. That's the ring from where I would be sitting for $450. And I'm like, I can't do that, even if I was really. All right, let's see. Updated card for WWE. Obviously, we know we got Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and all right, WWE Undisputed Title match. Io Sky, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. We know about that one. Triple threat match. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. World Heavyweight Title match. Gunther and Jey Uso. Women's title match. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, which they did a promo the other night, unscripted, and it got personal. And I don't even think the company was comfortable with it. They took it down. Women's World Title match. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. WWE United States title. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. WWE Tag Team title match. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus the winners of the Gauntlet match. So we're still setting the Gauntlet match happens like tomorrow, I think. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I don't care about that match. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I don't care about that match. Singles match. Naomi versus Jade Cargill. They've done a good job building that up. The next match is the next day. Is Randy Orton versus They Don't Know Yet because of Kevin Owens' neck injuries. The Street Profits versus the Motor City Machine Guns. I think that's for the title. That could actually be a really good match. They don't have them listed here as champions. Hold on. Because Street Profits are pretty good. I'm pretty sure that they're the champions because they beat DIY, didn't they? Street Profits. Yeah, they're the current WWE. So that's going to be a good match. They're not even promoting that match. Wow. So Lyra Vakura versus They Don't Know Yet. Chelsea Green doesn't have a match. Braun Breaker versus Penta, maybe. So WrestleMania is in like 13 days. So yeah, I don't know. You know, some of those matches on the card are intriguing, but I just don't get the WrestleMania feel with this. But maybe that's why the tickets aren't selling as much as they want to. All right, guys. Wow, we're at 100 people. We're at 100 people. Majority of you are on the X, like I said, right under here. I'm going to get rid of the banner here and this is where we want you to come. If you're watching me on X, if you're within the sound of my voice, even if you're watching this later on, please go to youtube.com/at the Sci-Fi Center. I'll keep that up here. That's why I do these shows now with it at the bottom, so you know where to find us. All you have to do, if you just want to don't type in all that, just Google the Sci-Fi Center. My landing page comes up. You click on that. That gives you my Instagram. That gives you Twitter. That gives you the YouTube channel. There are shows on there, so you can just join everything. Stalk me. Follow me everywhere. So yeah, there's 100 people on a Sunday night at 11 o'clock Pacific time. And some of you are watching from all over the world. So like I said, a lot of appreciation for you coming in this time of night. This seems to be a very, very good spot for us. I'm going to try to do more earlier Sunday shows because I think you guys are showing with the statistics that you enjoy these shows and you just don't spike it. You've been here. We've been at around 90 to 100 this entire time. So yeah, Twitter guys, where the majority of you are at, come on over to YouTube and start watching our stuff there. But right now, I think that's a good place to end it. On a high note, did you have anything you wanted to add? Because this was open topic. This was just
not really. I mean, I think we kind of covered all the. I mean, not a lot of it was the weekend, not a big news drop, but I think we covered kind of everything heading into next week.
And that's it. Do I have a favorite? Do I have a match? Are you asking if I have a favorite match? Obviously, I want to see what happens with Cody Rhodes. The Gunther match and the Gunther Uso match, I think, might be the best physical match on the card, other than the women. I think the women are going to carry the show. Yes, less. Did we didn't do watch parties, did we? We did after shows, right? I think we're going to go ahead and do watch parties after the Last of Us. Well, I'll do a poll because we did an after show of the Last of Us, I think, and then I got to go look and see how we did. It's been so long since we've had it. But yeah, if you guys want to do watch parties, we'll do it. All right. Like, subscribe, share, especially those of you on Twitter right now. Please come join us. I don't know. I haven't kept I haven't been keeping track of our subscribers, and since I know we're at like almost 1,900. We're at 870 videos that we've uploaded. Wow, that's a lot. When we reach 1,000, we'll do something special. So, all right, Brad, anything? Got anything? Or are we done?
No, I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up. I mean,
all right, you guys will
stuff.
not see me tomorrow. I am going to take the night off because I got a lot of stuff to do as we get closer to April 16th, which is when we hold our event. And then we are less than a month away for Star Wars Day, and then Free Comic Day, which is the most important day of the year for the Sci-Fi Center as far as comic book wise goes. Obviously, we're going to have a pretty special day following it with May 4th, and that's so they'll be back to back that way. So please like, subscribe, share. I will see you on Tuesday unless some kind of comet hitting the Earth stuff happens. Other than that, we'll see you Tuesday at 11:30 Pacific time.
All right, later, guys.